Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles and welcome to Saturday at 2:30, the video podcast I do here on Facebook Live every Saturday at 2:30, and then I will clean it up a bit and put it up on my YouTube channel. I always talk about some aspect of life coaching or consulting hypnotism. Um, Today I want to talk about a topic that was suggested by one of my Facebook friends, Barry Weaver. And this particular topic is pretty limited to people who are professional consulting hypnotists or practice some other helping profession where they routinely interact with clients. The issue is assigning clients homework to do between sessions. Now, I know some colleagues who will say they never do this, that you don't need to. Hypnosis is a subconscious process, and anything you assign conscious to a client is going to be a conscious action that they're going to do, and it is at best irrelevant. So just do the hypnosis, put the information into their subconscious mind, and let the subconscious mind, which is the greatest goal-achieving mechanism ever evolved, let that do the work. And I respect that position. But fundamentally, I'm an empiricist, which means that I pay attention to my experience, and I've experimented with assigning clients a homework, and I have found that, in fact, it does increase the quality of outcomes and also increases client discipline regarding showing up on time for sessions and so on. So I do it. I started many, many years ago when I was a parish minister because people would come to me from the congregation and I would do hypnosis with them as part of my pastoral care. But one of the problems you have if they're not paying you, and they don't if you're their parish minister, is that you get people who are not motivated. They don't want to stop smoking, for example. They just want to be able to say they tried hypnosis and it didn't work. So I would put some tests in place to see how motivated they were. Like a simple one, between now and the next session, smoke a different brand of cigarettes every day. Don't just buy your usual brand. Now this doesn't cause any craving, it doesn't change the nicotine dose, but it just requires a little bit of effort. And if they're not willing to even do that, they're completely unmotivated to get off a serious smoking habit. And I would say at that point that I'm sorry, but they're just beyond my limited scope as a poor parish minister, and they should go see a colleague that I would recommend to them. That's a bit of a cop-out, that you can't really do much with a client who isn't motivated. So I found that it was helpful to assign homework, and I've continued that over the 30 years of my practice here in Chicagoland as a consulting hypnotist. Now, when you were trained, if you were trained through a guild-approved school or certified instructor, the standard guild curriculum does have the steps of self-hypnosis that are taught to every client. I basically built on those. There are a series of baseline hypnotic skills that I want every client to have at their fingertips. And yeah, I incorporate this into the hypnotic work so they learn it that way. But I also then reinforce it by giving them materials as references and to practice at home. In addition, I usually see clients every 2 weeks. On the week when we're not meeting, we touch base briefly by telephone, just 5 minutes. But that allows me to check in on them and see if they're actually doing what they were supposed to do. And that increases client discipline and improves outcome. In terms of, in addition to the status update call, the standard things that I teach every client, pretty much, first, the eye roll. Now, in my particular style of hypnotic practice, it's based upon the techniques developed by Drs. Herbert and David Spiegel. And they are the people who discovered that the eye roll is a way of assessing hypnotizability and suggestibility. During my time with a client in their intake session, I do an eye roll test with them. In fact, I do the hypnotic induction profile with them, which is an assessment developed by the Spiegels, and which is a modified version of which is actually in the National Guild of Hypnotists curriculum for complementary medical hypnosis. So I do that with everyone as part of my assessment of them, but then at the end of that session, I give them a description of the eye roll, and I ask them to do it at home once a day. It takes 30, 60 seconds, but it gets them used to slipping into their hypnotic state, kind of at will. And that's a useful skill for a client to have. The next thing I will teach them at another session is the craft of auto-suggestion. And I use the classic Emile Coué, every day in every way I'm getting better and better. And I show the clients how to modify that. And I give them a handout which explains the history, that it's a simple technique, but a very effective one, and how to use it. The third routine thing I do is I teach clients the importance of anchors. An anchor is something, either a gesture or an object, that you deliberately either do or place in your environment as an intentional reminder to practice something like a self-hypnotic exercise or a mental affirmation or a visualization. So I'll explain that with a handout, and then I'll have them go home and create an anchor for themselves that relates to their goals. The fourth thing I want every client to use is thought stopping. This is a technique developed in 1951 at the University of Chicago School of Psychiatry, widely picked up and used by others. When a person is engaging in a pattern of thought that they know is going to bring them out in a bad place, we teach them to break that pattern, to interrupt it by doing something else, like imagining a bright red shiny stop sign and saying, stop, stop, stop. Stop as much as they need to break up the habitual pattern of thought so that those nerve cells do not kindle themselves one more time. And then I teach everyone the master affirmation. This was developed by Don Mutton, who is the vice president of the National Guild of Hypnotists. There is no person, thought, idea, memory, image, feeling, or sensation out of the past, in the present, or ever to arrive in the future that could stop me from blank. I usually send this to a client as an email, and I'll fill in that blank related to their goals. And I want them to do that affirmation once a day. They can add it to the auto-suggestion they're doing every day in every way. I'm getting better and better, and there is no person, thought, idea, and so on. People get to do this routinely. At sessions, you're checking up on them to be sure that they're doing their homework, and they get used to following your instructions. So when you give them the instruction that you're going to be strong, you're going to be able, you're going to be confident, you're going to control your weight, it just goes along with that yes set that you've created in their mind because they've gotten used to following your instruction. So all of my clients get handouts about the eye roll, auto-suggestion, anchors, thought stopping, and an email about the master affirmation, tailored for them. In addition, I am a HeartMath certified coach. The HeartMath Institute in California is the group that's done some of the very best research in mind-body interaction. And so everyone who comes to me as a client does receive a copy of the Building Personal Resilience Guide from HeartMath, and coaches are under a contractual obligation to see that everyone gets this. It explains some of the concepts, it gives the science that's involved, and some of the experimental evidence about how these techniques work. And I build these techniques into my hypnotic pattern. But I want every client to learn specifically quick coherence, inner ease, and attitude breathing. They're all described in this booklet that I give to every client at intake, but over and above that, they also get supplemental material about it as well. I want them all to utilize those techniques. So even after a client has finished working with me on their presenting issue and we conclude our helping relationship, they've also got a considerable skill set of techniques they can use for emotional regulation. They all know how to eye roll themselves into relaxation, and you can use that as a way of visualizing and putting yourself in self-hypnosis. They all know how to do conscious autosuggestion. They all know the value of having anchors in their environment. They all know about thought stopping, so they get away from rumination and perseveration in their interior life. They all affirm themselves using a standard master affirmation, and they learn the heart math material, scientifically valid material, for emotional self-regulation. Part of why I get such good reviews from my clientele and so many referrals from them is they know I'm not just charging every penny the traffic can bear. I'm not charging for every little thing. In fact, I'm giving a lot of material to them that they're going to be able to use after the consultation is over. And so that generosity that I provide builds my credibility in their eyes. And I'm not trying to rip them off. I'm helping them with their presenting problem, but I'm also giving them tools. And that gets their attention. So if you're going to provide your client with homework between sessions, a couple of things I recommend. First, don't just tell them. Be sure you give them a handout or something that is a tangible reminder and description of what it is you want them to do, because you'll be amazed how many people will not remember accurately what you said. If you're going to do that, the handouts need to look good. I print mine out on my office printer, but on my practice stationery, and there's a place where I put the client's name and date. It looks attractive, it looks professional. And then I save a PDF of this in the client's records. If you don't have this kind of material lying around, let me say, if you'd like copies of my material, eye roll, autosuggestion and stuff, email me or contact me through Facebook, and I'll send you PDFs with permission to copy. But if you don't want to do that, if you need to have, and if you'd like even a larger library of material, there are two companies that make handouts for professional use that I feel I can recommend. I want to stipulate I have no business relationship or personal relationship with either one of these companies, but the material looks good to me. And were I in the market for this sort of thing, this is where I'd go. The first is a company called Between Sessions, www.betweensessions.com. And they have a series of handouts that you can customize to give to clients. They have forms that you can use in your own practice that look professional. They have workbooks on various standard issues, and they even give you the opportunity to create a custom workbook for your style that they will then produce and can go to your clients. One caution, this company does work with licensed mental health professionals as well. So you want to be careful if you're using their forms or their handouts that you stay in your scope of practice. You don't accidentally use material that's only appropriate to someone who's licensed to practice the diagnosis and treatment of a mental health disorder. That would be an important thing to bear in mind. The other company that I'd recommend is called Coaching Tools Company. It's www.coachingtoolscompany.com. Very, very similar to the other. They've got nice looking material that you can subscribe to and use in your practice. So be sure, if you're going to use handouts, which I do recommend, that they have the look and the feel of a pro. So, hey, thank you for your time and attention. I'll be back next Saturday at 2:30 with a different topic and a different talk. Until then, stay well and stay safe.